So, welcome to the Spiritual Insight Show. I'm Reverend Tiffany White, Sage Woman. This show is brought to you today by True Psychics Network, TPN TV. So, we've had a little bit of issues to start with. So, but hey, we're okay. We're going to be fine, right? So, let's make sure everyone has sound this time. Okay, now you can hear me. Great. Thank you so much for the feedback. And what I'm talking about is feedback from the chat. If you're watching this live, those of you who are watching it live, you have an opportunity to chat. And this is from the True Psychics Network, our TPN channel on Ustream. Alright, so those of you who are watching it maybe on a replay, that's okay. I'm just glad that you are watching it. And thank you. Try to catch a live show if you can, every Tuesday, 1 p.m. Eastern Time, so that way you'll be able to chat with others. And I just want to make sure, too, that I do have the air running today because it was quite humid, and that it doesn't create such a distraction in the background. So, alright, let's begin, shall we? I had, looking at the calendar, realized that the last time I did a TV show was last month in May. That I did have some shows, but they were just radio shows and some interviews as we had this, as we transferred over. Thank you. As we transferred over our video, our TV, from one program to another. So I'm so glad to be back on TV, trying to bring the energy back a little bit, stop messing with the system. Guess we just have to break this one in, right? So, and wow, this starts season 4. We're in season 4 with True Psychics Network, with TPN TV and radio. Season 4 of all the shows. Really interesting and exciting. We look forward to bringing a bunch of new shows, some guests, and so stay tuned. Make sure you check the show schedule at the True Psychics Network website. You go to TPN TV or radio pages and you can see the schedules there. So alright, those of you who watch my show know that I usually start or open with the numerology or number of the day. So I will do that. If you take today's date, and you need the complete date, June 17th, 2014. Now let's do the number part. Okay? 6 plus 17 plus 2014. Alright? So June is 6. Alright? 17, 1 plus 7 is 8. And 2014 is 7. Alright? So 6 plus 8 is 14. Plus 7. So 14 plus 7 is 21, which is 3. Alright, because we take every number down to a single digit from 1 and 9. So 21, 2 plus 1 is 3. So 3 has this wonderful vibration with it. And guess what everyone is feeling this type of vibration, or what's favorable to tap into today. This is a day to socialize, have fun and party together with friends, family, and your loved ones. You may feel as if some change is taking place within, but you're not too clear about its true meaning. Just go with the flow. Go with the flow. Woo! Go with the flow. How many times have we had to say that? Go with the flow, right? I don't want to go with the flow. No, but we have to. Go with the flow. Have a good, entertaining, and laid-back type of day. And it's okay if you don't want to entertain. Just have some time to yourself is fine too. But your creativity is on the rise. This is a productive part of Mercury retrograde. Alright? I think Mercury retrograde gets a bad rap sometimes. About, you shouldn't do this, you shouldn't do that. Things you shouldn't do is business-wise communication, as far as signing any contracts, establishing something new in the world of business, so to speak. I wouldn't start a new program, I'd just start something new until the end of Mercury retrograde, and it wraps up here July 2nd, but you can still feel the effects of it. Now that doesn't mean go run and hide. Even that is good, because you need to really just work on your spirituality, but it doesn't mean hide, because then that's not working on it, right? So yes, take those time to yourself and to work on your spirituality. It's a great time to do this. Many of us may even be feeling like we are going through, we feel so much going on, and you know, it may sound or may seem to be overwhelming at times because so much is going on, and so it's okay. It's okay if it feels overwhelming like this. So anyway, I'm sorry, I am trying to stay focused today, and I am like, so many distractions. Well, it seems like it's so many distractions. You know, but anyway. So, focus, Tiffany. Stay focused. But it's all good. All right. So, another thing I like to do with each show is to give a crystal message and then a power animal message. Okay? So, with the crystal message for the day is, and I should just type it in because I can really butcher a word, and I don't mean to do that. I don't mean to butcher words, but I'll just type it in. But it's, I do believe it is pronounced, what's this? There you go. I just typed it in. And for those of you watching, all right, is Pietersite. Pietersite. P-I-E-T, Pietersite. P-I-E-T-E-R-S-I-T-E. So that way, those of you who are watching can Google it and see what it looks like. It's very pretty. P-I-E-T-E-R-S-I-T-E. Pietersite. Pietersite. Whatever. You get the idea. Anyway, it is a stone of willpower and inner guidance. And it activates insight and inner vision. Very nice. We need that, right? We need it. So, yes, I know there is a delay for those of you in chat. It's just like, wait a minute. It's okay. Hey, we'll all get through this. There is a type of delay between chat and the video, but it's all right. We all catching up. So that is the crystal of the day. Yes, in chat. Yes, Magical Winds, who is Crystal Crab. I should get my tiger's eye as well, right? So I'll grab my tiger's eye. Helps to keep me grounded and focused today. Because it's so easy. Get flighty. Oh no! So if you lose the feed, just try again, refresh, and hopefully you'll get it again. Okay? So, alright, it's back. And I have noticed that it has been like cutting in and out a little bit, so I'm not sure why. We're going to make the most of it, right? Alright, so on with the show. The power animal for the week is bear. Bear. That's right. Bear. And the bear represents the present and the now. And also introspection. See? Introspection. When we just talk about this, this is very much a very creative part of Mercury retrograde. Healing, Solitude for those that don't want to maybe socialize today. Communication with spirits and visionaries. Oh, so very nice. A lot of wonderful energies, a lot of wonderful messages. Everything is all validated. From the number of the day to even the time, with the positioning of Mercury retrograde, with some of our planets, the crystal message, the power animal message. Everything all seems to be right in synchronicity with each other, doesn't it? Very, very beautiful, and I love how it supports each other like that. All right? So, the topic today, the shamanic view of mental illness. Now, I have to tell you that this is not mine. This is not even channeled. This is something that I actually pulled off of the internet. But it's something that really should be discussed, that I'm going to share with you, and something that should be read. And it's a very, very interesting topic. The topic, the shamanic view of mental illness. And now, let's discuss this for a moment, shall we? Mental illness. This is something that has always terrified me as a child. Maybe the fear of being locked away, the fear of being misunderstood, and how fast at one time with society that just if you didn't agree or act normal, you were carted off to some mental institute. That's horrible, really, really horrible. And I saw this as a young child because I would sit and watch movies with my parents. Actually, my dad and I loved to watch movies, and so I'd watch these old movies with them. And then if it had something to do with a mental institute, I remember how I felt at that time as a young child, feeling this is horrible. How can everyone let this happen? How can you let these people being carted off and put in this one place and made to seem like they're not right? Are they not a child of God, part of the divine? So you're saying God messed up? No. I just never understood that as a child. And I'll tell you, if a child doesn't understand something, we're doing something wrong. Honestly. Because if it's not in harmony with each other, then something is wrong. Something's off. And we need to really pay attention. So, I will read this article, and I did get it, and I will tell you where I did get this from as well. It's thespiritscience.net. This what I'm reading to you today, and we're going to be talking about, is thespiritscience.net. Spiritscience.net. So check out that website another time. Not now. It's during showtime. But again, it's the, make sure you add thespiritscience.net. That's that website from the article that I'm reading today. And of course, if you missed the link, you can always contact me, and you would like to know that I will give you that link. But it's a really, really great article that just hit home. All right, so in the shamanic view, mental illness signals the birth of a healer. Isn't that beautiful? The birth of a healer. All right, so, and this is explained by Malidoma Patrice Sommet. Thus, mental disorders are spiritual emergencies, spiritual crisis, and they need to be regarded as such to aid the healer in being born. Now, I'm going to interject as I read this, so it's going to come across as what you're going to get is a mingling of maybe my guides coming through, and then I will let you know when I go back to read the article. So when you read the article, you go, well, this wasn't everything that was talked about, because I'm adding in some things as well as I'm reading this. Okay, so it's I really like that spiritual emergency. You think about how mental illness to this day is still happening. And, well, what's going on? Do we have, or is our mental and our spiritual fields not lining up? What's going on? Why is there still the mental illness today? And this article, as I go on, will explain it briefly. I can go on and on. And my guides will say pretty much the same thing. I do have we all have like a group of guides around us. I do have 2 native guides, and I think they are American, whether it's South American. One is South American. I'm not sure. I think the male is North American. But my female native guide is a medicine woman, a shaman, and her name is Speaking Crow. And she's the one, when I started working with her, the crows were coming around. They still do to this day. So I know that there's messages and signs. It's really beautiful. So Speaking Crow is my female shaman, medicine woman guide. And then the other Native American guide is a male. 10 Horses is his name. 10 Horses. All right, and he supports Speaking Crow, which I think is really beautiful. So, all right, let's go back to the article here. What those in the West view as mental illness, the Dagara people regard as good news from the other world. Excuse me. Good news from the other world. Isn't that beautiful? The person going through the crisis has been chosen as a medium for a message to the community that needs to be communicated from the spirit realm. Mental disorder, behavior, disorder of all kinds, signal the fact that the 2 obviously incompatible energies have merged into the same field, says Dr. Somé. These disturbances result when the person does not get assistance in dealing with the presence of the energy from the spirit realm. One of the things Dr. Somé encountered when he first came to the United States in 1980 for graduate study was how this country deals with mental illness, or doesn't deal with it. When a fellow student was sent to a mental institute due to a nervous depression, Dr. Somé went to visit him. This is Dr. Somé's quote. "I was so shocked. That was the first time I was brought face to face with what is done here to people exhibiting the same symptoms I've seen in my village." What struck Dr. Somé was that the attention given to such symptoms were based on pathology, on the idea that the condition is something that needs to stop. This was in complete opposition to the way his culture views such a situation. As he looked around the stark ward at the patients, some in straitjackets, some zoned out on medications, others screaming, he observed to himself, "So this is how the healers who are attempting to be born are treated in this culture? What a loss! What a loss that a person who is finally being aligned with the power from the other world is just being wasted." Wow. Yeah. Isn't that horrible? It's just being wasted. Another way to say this, which may make more sense to the Western mind, is that we in the West are not trained in how to deal or even taught to acknowledge the existence of psychic phenomenon, the spiritual world. How about that, right? We're not. Those of us who were not in a family who embraced the gifts, we were lost until we found our way. So in fact, the psychic abilities are also discouraged, aren't they? They're discouraged. When energies from the spiritual world emerge in the Western psyche, that individual is completely unequipped to integrate them or even recognize what is happening. The result can be terrifying. Without the proper context for and assistance in dealing with the heartbreak through another level of reality. I'm sorry, not in dealing with the heartbreak, in dealing with the breakthrough from one level of reality for all practical purposes, the person is insane. Heavy dosing with antipsychotic drugs compounds the problem and prevents the integration that could lead to soul development and growth in the individual who has received these energies. Wow. On the mental ward, Dr. Somé saw a lot of beings hanging around the patients, these entities that are invisible to most people, but that shamans and psychics are able to see. They were causing the crisis in these people, he says. It appeared to him that these beings were trying to get the medications and their efforts out of the bodies of the people the beings were trying to merge with, and were increasing the patient's pain in the process. The beings are acting almost like some kind of excavator in the energy field of people. They were really fierce about that. The people they were doing that to were just screaming and yelling, he said. He couldn't stay in that environment, and he had to leave. Isn't that horrible? So in his village, the Dagara tradition, the community helps a person reconcile the energies of both worlds. The world of the spirit that he or she is merged with, and the village and the community. That people, or that person with these gifts, is able then to serve as a bridge between the worlds and help the living with information and healing they need. Thus, the spiritual crisis ends with the birth of another healer. The world's other relationship with our world is one of sponsorship. Dr. Somé explains. More often than not, the knowledge and the skills that arise from this kind of merger are a knowledge or a skill that is provided directly from the other world. The other world. All right. The beings who were increasing the pain of the inmates on the mental hospital ward were actually attempting to merge within the inmates in order to get messages through to this world. The people they had chosen to merge with are getting no assistance in learning how to bridge between the worlds, and the beings' attempts to merge are thwarted. Discouraged, right? The result was the sustaining of the initial disorder of energy and the aborting of the birth of a healer. This is why many people feel they have attachments with a mental illness. I'm possessed. I don't understand. You are experiencing the spirit world, and you weren't taught how to communicate with them. You're not communicating. All right? And so it becomes, instead of this harmonious relationship, it becomes a give and take, or this pull, this tug of war. And like he says, the aborting of the birth of the healer. The Western culture has consistently ignored the birth of the healer, states Dr. Somé. Consequently, there will be a tendency from the other world to keep trying as many people as possible in an attempt to get somebody's attention. They have to try harder. The spirits are drawn to people whose senses have not been euthanized. The sensitivity is pretty much read as an invitation to come in, he knows. Those who develop so-called mental disorders are those who are sensitive, which is viewed in Western culture as oversensitivity. Indigenous cultures don't see it that way, and as a result, sensitive people don't experience themselves as overly sensitive. And the dogs agree. In the West, it is the overload of the culture they're in, and it's just wrecking them, observes Dr. Somé. This terrible pace that we're at, the bombardment of the senses, and the violent energy that characterize the Western culture can overwhelm sensitive people. I'm sure we all agree that this is a very, very overwhelming place to live, isn't it? So we all can relate to this. And it is. Very hard. All of us who are watching, and there's a reason why you're watching this, all right? So, just a little note here. Let me just take some water. Interesting. Let's look at what those who we consider to be powers that be. How is society treated? And I want you to really stop and see this with your heart, with your third eye. All right? So, this is what's happening. You have these tribal people. We even have our guides that are tribal that are explaining what's wrong within our society. Ancient elders and teachers, spiritual teachers, who are telling us what's going on. All right? And we do need to wake up. We need to open our eyes and see what's going on. Those that want to control you will strip you down. How do they strip you down? Separation, separation, separation. Divide and separate. Divide and separate. And keep dividing. Keep separating. You know, pull you further away from the truth that you are a very powerful divine being. And so people with these gifts and abilities, the healers that come in, they want to label them, classify them as being ill or not, not normal, so to speak. So they get carted off into mental hospitals, or they get heavily drugged and medicated. All right, this is happening to people of all ages. So look at our elders in society. What are they doing to the seniors? How many seniors do you know who are on a lot of medications? They pretty much are kind of like in a zombie state. They really are. Have you ever looked in their eyes and it just seems like they have this glazed over look in their eyes? They're really not sure because they're on like 5, at least, different types of medication, and they all interact with each other. And they're just kind of like numb, walking around. This is what's done to our elders, our sacred elders. It's a crime, and it shouldn't even be allowed to exist. People need to wake up, take responsibility for their parents, their family, of all ages. All ages. Kids are being drugged. All right? And so no more. This is a hijack. This is a concentration camp, the way that our powers to be are taking care of this society, this Western civilization. All right? And what they fear is for us to be in our own power, our own divine power, because they can't touch us. Remember, command is much powerful than control. Control is an illusion. And they think they're in control. They've got to pay the price, and they will. They are. All right? So, how can we help others? Not be afraid either of mental illness. A lot of people are just, oh my gosh, I'm afraid because it's not in my norm, because these gifted people were kept away from everyone else. I have to tell you though, don't be discouraged, because you look around now. We're all coming out. We're all coming back stronger. We've learned to be quiet and adapt as we come back. Be quiet in your use so you don't get thrown into a mental institute. Because if it happened in one life, you can be guaranteed it didn't happen again. We weren't going to let it happen. Be quiet until it's time to talk. It's time to talk. It's time to share. It's time to communicate. All right? So we all are here. Stronger. We really are. Stronger and more powerful than ever before. All right, so I want to continue reading this really great article. It goes into schizophrenia and foreign energy. And what I just said was my feelings, my expressions, a little bit of the guides, my guides, and in no way, shape, or form part of this article. I just want to mention that. Now, back to the article. Schizophrenia and foreign energy. With schizophrenia, there is a social receptivity to the flow of images and information which cannot be controlled. When this kind of rush occurs at a time that is not personally chosen, and particularly when it comes with images that are scary and contradictory, the person goes into a frenzy. What is required in this situation is first to separate the person's energy from the extraneous foreign energies by using a shamanic practice, which is known as a sweep, to clear the later out of the individual's aura. That's interesting. A sweep. Sweep it out of the aura. All right. With the clearing of the energy field, the person no longer picks up a flood of information, and so no longer has a reason to be scared and disturbed. Interesting. That's one of the first things I do when someone comes over for healing. Of course, you know, they're walking in with incense, so it's an instant smudge. And then is to, I call it just vacuum or clean their aura. It's the same time anything sweep. You know, whether I visualize that my hand is magnetic and I'm picking up all of everyone else's stuff that's stuck, the foreign stuff stuck into their aura or luminous energy field. It's picking it all up, and then I release it to the earth to be recycled with harm to none. Mother Earth knows what to do with these energies. All right. So, now, it is possible to help the person align with the energy of the spirit being attempted to come through from the other world and give birth to the healer. The blockage of that emergence is what creates the problem. The energy of the healer is a high voltage energy, he observes. When this is blocked, it just burns up the person. All right? Burns up the person. It's like a short circuit. Fuses are blowing. This is why it can be really scary. And I understand why this culture prefers to confine these people. Here they are yelling and screaming, and they put into straitjackets. It's a sad image. So that's very interesting. Now, I have to tell you, I did not finish reading this whole article. I was just guided to read it. Because this morning, while I was getting ready, there was the imagery of circuits overloading. And this is how we feel sometimes, don't we? And that what happens when we get overloaded, our fuse blow. And here we go. They're talking about that exactly. And it does feel like you're literally on fire, feel like you're just burning up. So key words to listen for people, of course, is they're yelling and screaming. It needs to be noted at this point, however, that not all the spirit beings that enter a person's energetic field are there for the purpose of promoting healing. We understand that. There are negative energies as well, which are undesirable presences in the aura. In those cases, the shamanic approach is to remove them from the aura, rather than work to align the discordant energies. So you can tell, right? You can tell. This person is wanting to work with you. It's a guide. The teacher, this is good. Connect with this person. All right, I'm going to remove this. This is not good. We're going to just go away. You know, you can't reside here. All right, so this is helping. This is how you help in cleansing the aura. All right, and here's a case study that I want to share with you that was as part of this article. All right, it's called Alex, crazy in the USA, but a healer in Africa. Here's those labels, right? Alex, case study Alex, crazy in the USA, healer in Africa. Yes, I repeated that. All right. To test his belief that the shamanic view of mental illness holds true in the Western world as well as the indigenous cultures, Dr. Somé took a mental patient back to Africa with him to his village. I was prompted by my own curiosity. He had hallucinations, was suicidal, and went through cycles of dangerously severe depression. He was in a mental hospital and had been given lots of drugs, but nothing was helping. Of course not. You're not addressing the real situation. You're just masking, Band-Aid, cover up. The parents had done everything they knew, but it was unsuccessful, says Dr. Somé. They didn't know what else to do. With their permission, Dr. Somé took their son to Africa. After 8 months there, Alex had become quite normal, Dr. Somé reports. He was even able to participate with healers in the business of healing, sitting with them all day long and helping them, assisting them in what they were doing with their clients. He spent about 4 years in my village. Alex stayed by choice, not because he needed more healing. He felt much safer in the village than in America. To bring his energy and that of the being from the spiritual realm into alignment, Alex went through a shamanic ritual designed for that purpose, although it was slightly different from the one used with the Dagara people. He wasn't born in the village, so something else applied. But the result was similar. Even though the ritual was not literally the same, explains Dr. Somé. The fact that aligning the energy worked to heal Alex demonstrated to Dr. Somé that the connection between other beings and mental illness is indeed universal. After the ritual, Alex began to share the messages that the spirit being had for this world. Unfortunately, the people he was talking to didn't speak English. Dr. Somé was away at that point. The whole experience led, however, to Alex's going to college to study psychology. He returned to the United States after 4 years because he discovered that all the things that he needed to do had to be done and he could move on with his life. The last that Dr. Somé heard was that Alex was in graduate school in psychology at Harvard. No one had ever thought he had been able to complete undergraduate studies, much less get an advanced degree. Dr. Somé sums up that Alex's mental illness was all about. He was reaching out. It was an emergency call. His job and his purpose was to be a healer. He said no one was paying attention to that. Bingo. Bingo. And this is why the energies coming in today, the people, the kids, even our generation, don't put us in a cookie cutter mold. It's not, I don't care what you think I should be doing. This is what we're here to do. Pay attention. After seeing how well the shamanic approach worked for Alex, Dr. Somé concluded that spirit beings are just as much an issue in the West as in his community in Africa. Yet the question still remains. The answer to this problem must be found here instead of having to go all the way overseas to seek the answer. There has to be a way in which a little bit of attention beyond the pathology of this whole experience leads to the possibility of coming up with the proper ritual to help people. The longing for spiritual connections is the next section of this article. It's really great. Longing for spiritual connection. And I am longing to get to the next page. Thank you. All right. A common thread that Dr. Somé had noticed in mental disorders in the West is a very ancient, ancestral energy that has been placed in stasis that finally is coming out in the person. His job then is to trace it back, to go back in time to discover what that spirit is. In most cases, the spirit is connected to nature, especially with mountains or big rivers, he says. In the case of mountains, as an example to explain the phenomenon, it's the spirit of the mountain that is walking side by side with the person, and as a result, it's creating a time-space distortion that is affecting the person caught in it. What is needed is a merger or alignment of the two energies, so the person and the mountain spirit become one. Again, the shaman conducts a specific ritual to bring on this alignment. Dr. Somé believes that he encounters this situation so often in the United States because most of the fabric of this country is made up of the energy of the machine, and the result of that is the disconnection and the disconnection and severing of the past. You can run from the past, but you can't hide from it. And the ancestral spirit of the natural world comes visiting. It's not so much what the spirit wants as it is what the person wants, he says. The spirit sees in us a call for something grand, something that will make life more meaningful. And so the spirit is responding to that. The spirit is listening. Universe always listens. That call, which we don't even know we are making, we put out this SOS signal, reflects a strong longing for a profound connection, a connection that transcends materialism and possession of things and moves into a tangible cosmic dimension. Most of this longing is unconsciousness, but for spirits, conscious or unconscious doesn't make any difference. They respond to either. As part of the ritual to merge the mountain and human energy, those that are receiving the mountain energy are sent, guess where? To the mountain area of their choice, where they pick up a stone that calls to them. Excuse me. They bring that stone back for the rest of the ritual and then keep it as a companion. Some even carry it around with them. The presence of the stone does a lot in tuning the perception ability of the person, notes Dr. Shamanic. They receive all kinds of information that they can make use of. So it's like they get some tangible guidance from the other world as how to live their life. Isn't that, it's beautiful. We like to have these type of physical tools. Yeah? As human beings, we like these physical tools. All right? So, that's for mountain energy. When the river energy, or water energy, right, is being called to go to the river, to the water, another speaking to the river spirit. Find a water stone to bring back for the same kind of ritual as the mountain spirit. People think something extraordinary must be done in an extraordinary situation like this, he says. This is not usually the case. Sometimes it's just as simple as carrying a stone. But what a very energetic stone. A sacred ritual approach to mental illness. One of the gifts of the shaman can bring to the Western world is to help people rediscover ritual, which is so sadly lacking. Ritual or ceremony. I like to call it ceremony. The abandonment of ritual can be devastating. From the spiritual view, ritual is inevitable, a necessity if one is to live. Dr. Shamanic writes in Ritual, Power, Healing, and Community. That's his book. There's a quote from that book. To say that ritual is needed in the industrial world is an understatement. We have seen in my own people that it is probably impossible to live a sane life without it. Dr. Shamanic did not feel that the rituals from his traditional village would simply be transferred to the West. So over his years of shamanic work here, he has designed rituals that meet the very different needs of this culture. Although the rituals change according to the individual or the group involved, he finds that there is a need for certain rituals in general. One of these involves helping people discover that their distress is coming from the fact that they are being called by beings from the other world to cooperate with them in doing healing work. Ritual allows them to move out of the distress and accept the call. Another ritual need relates to initiation. Yep. In indigenous cultures all around the world, young people are initiated into adulthood when they reach a certain age. The lack of such initiation in the West is part of the crises that people are in here, says Dr. Shamanic. He urges communities to bring together the creative juices of people who have had this kind of experience in an attempt to come up with some kind of an alternative ritual that would at least begin to put a dent in this kind of crisis. Another ritual that repeatedly speaks to the needs of those coming to him for help entails making a bonfire and then putting in the bonfire items that are symbolic of issues carried inside the individuals. It might be the issues of anger and resentment against an ancestor who has left a legacy of murder and enslavement, or anything, things that the descendant has to live with. If these are approaches as things that are blocking the human imagination, the person's life purpose, and even the person's view of life is something that can improve, then it does make sense to begin thinking in terms of how to turn that blockage, turn it into a roadway that can lead to something more creative and more fulfilling. The example of issues with an ancestor's touch on rituals designed by Dr. Somé that address a serious dysfunction in Western society, and in the process trigger enlightenment in participants. These are ancestral rituals. And the dysfunction they are aimed at is a mass turning of the back on ancestors. Some of the spirits trying to come through, and described earlier, may be ancestors who want to merge with a descendant in an attempt to heal what they aren't able to do while in their physical body. Unless the relationship between the living and the dead is in balance, chaos ensues. The Dagara believe that if such an imbalance exists, it is the duty of the living to heal their ancestors. If these ancestors are not healed, their sick energy will haunt the souls and psyches of those who are responsible for helping them. The rituals focus on healing the relationship with our ancestors, both specific issues of an individual ancestor and the larger cultural issues contained in our past. Dr. Somé has seen extraordinary healings occur at these rituals. Taking a sacred ritual approach to mental illness rather than regarding the person as a pathological case gives the person affected, and indeed the community at large, the opportunity to begin looking at it from a vantage point too. This vantage point leads to a whole plethora of opportunities and ritual initiation that can be very, very beneficial to everyone present, states Dr. Somé. Isn't that beautiful? And that's the end of the article. Wow. This is very, very beautiful. I do actually have this posted. I did share this article on Facebook. I have a Facebook page, Goldylocks Temple of Healing. I shared it there. I also shared it on my personal Facebook wall as well. So be sure to check that out on Facebook if you're interested. And again, if you're not on Facebook and you would like to have a link to the article, I'll be happy to send it to you. All right, just message me and I will get that to you. So this is really, really powerful, and how our ancestors are coming to us for healing as well. Think of all the wars this whole world has experienced as a whole, but also to how many of us live on battlegrounds in the United States. Think of all the battles that has taken place just in the last 300 years, 400 years, right? A lot of battle and fighting all over this globe, all over this world. And it seems that these other cultures know how to help the ancestors. And isn't it interesting, too, that what if you were one of your ancestors and you're coming back to help heal you? Maybe you were involved in a war in the past, and you're coming to heal that whole past you, that whole past situation, all the energies there, and just takes on. Isn't it beautiful? So just a thought. It's not always that you are your ancestor, but how many people thought that? You know, you hear about a great-great-grandfather or great-great-grandmother, and, you know, later realize later you reincarnated. I am my ancestor. Okay, my ancestor needs healing. That's one possibility. I'm just saying. Everything, you know, so it's really beautiful. We should just send out love, light, and healing in all directions. All right, and understand those that are having mental illness. Think of all the people that are hearing the call of being a healer. We should help them to answer that call. We should assist them instead of carting them off to a hospital or to some other kind of facility and drug them. All right, because it hurts all of us as a whole if we're not helping these healers to be initiated and to embrace their gifts and their abilities. All right, so this was a very powerful message that really needed to get through today. So I hope you enjoyed that article and the sharing. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day to spend time with me in Sacred Circle, whether you watch the show live or, like I said, whether you're watching the replay on the video. Thank you so much. And I just hope that you take a look at my personal website is whitesagewoman.com. You can also find me, of course, at truepsychicsnetwork.com. Be sure to check out the horoscopes for this week. They were channeled by our musical psychic, Reverend Pamela Cummings. So very, very beautiful energies for this week. So be sure to check that out. That is on the horoscope page at truepsychicsnetwork.com. So again, thank you so much, everyone. May you have a very beautiful and blessed week. And I will be back on TPNT